stuff. Now, you're always in demand, but this week in particular, you seem to be very much in demand, or in the last few weeks. I've seen you've been on the DAZN boxing show. The Sun, I think, got you for an interview. You're on Coogan's launch podcast as well. And it's not just because you're a great guy, well, I'm sure that's part of it. It's also because you're one of the few people that have sparred both AJ and Oleksandr Usyk, who clash in their rematch on Saturday. I guess, first of all, how long ago was it you last sparred each guy? Because it's a couple of years now, isn't it?
So Usyk would have been the longest. So I sparred AJ when he was getting ready for Pulev. And I sparred Usyk when he was getting ready for Tony Bellew. And then I sparred him again when he was initially supposed to fight Tyrone Spong, but that got changed to I can't remember that guy. Yeah, Chaz Witherspoon, that's the guy. So yeah, I did Usyk twice. I think I spent maybe a total of between the both of them about 6 weeks in Ukraine. And I sparred Joshua only a couple of times.
Who were you backing going into their first fight based on your experiences?
Into the first fight, I think I was still. It's always a difficult one for me because I do always want to back the home team, but I was in my head just thought Usyk. I've been in the ring with him and I understand how mentally and physically demanding it is. At like a show once, it was something me and Tony Bellew like sat and really had a deep conversation about like, because he'd obviously shared the ring with them as well, and we were literally saying the exact same things about how he does this little thing to pressure you and that little thing to pressure you, and you think, oh no, okay, he's going to do that, but he's not. He's going to do that, and your head just has to run overdrive the whole time, and it's very difficult one to physically maintain, but mentally maintain as well.
What are some of the kind of clever little things that he does that perhaps the casual observer wouldn't see on screen or in the arenas that you've seen being in there with him?
It's a lot of like if you're not really looking for those details, but if you watch, you'll see whereas a lot of boxers focus on their hands, and don't get me wrong, he does as well, but he has this slight movement thing that he does with his feet, which make you feel like he's about to step into range and either shoot you or feint you in or lead you in some way. And it's just the tap of the foot, either to the left, right, forward, however. And it's nothing. It means nothing. He's doing nothing with it. But it makes you think, because of how he's acted 2 or 3 combinations ago, you think, oh, okay, he's going again, and he's not. So you either tense, you move, you tuck up, however, and then he's got that free space to reign now to do what he wants because he's seen what you wanted to do. And again, southpaws are awkward anyway, and he has that awkward off lean to the side, which makes it hard for you to, if you want to go across or if you want to try and hook and stuff. And he's good to roll and get out of situations. That's the thing. I think he just has such good like upper body and kind of waist movement, where a lot of people rely on their feet to get them jumping in and out of situation. He can stay in front of you and shift left and right and forward and back and still stay out of trouble, basically.
So how does someone, regardless of whether it's Joshua or someone else that was fighting him next, what's the approach to have success against Usyk, never mind beat him?
Again, it's a difficult question to answer, but I feel like the best bet would just to be get a hold of him, is to not let him, like I say, how good he is in them situations of not being touched, but I think be more physical, almost like a Derek Chisora-esque. Like you saw him, he's with Chisora, he was not to say he is. He's a little bit past it. He's in the later years and stuff, and he wasn't as quick as before, and he couldn't keep up with the pace as before. But you saw in that fight that there was a few times where it was very uncomfortable for Usyk, and he didn't look as clean as we've seen him in the past. And I think that's not the absolute blueprint on how to build it, how to beat him. But I think that's a very good indicator of the direction you need to go with it, is to make him uncomfortable, shoulder him into the ropes, nudge your head on his shoulder, just put your weight on him and just keep that close and dig little ones in there and here. And I think there was a lot of clips flying around as recently on social media of him being touched to the body a few times and then doing some serious damage to him. So that could also be a good area to go to.
Now, regarding AJ, I think I read in one of the pieces I was talking about earlier that when you sparred him, you were kind of sparring the boxer AJ, the one that we saw in the Ruiz rematch. Um, how much do you think he can have changed since then, given he's added Robert Garcia since the start of this year? You've obviously started working with Ben Davison since the start of this year, so you've probably got a good gauge of how much can be accomplished in an abbreviated time frame.
Yeah, to be fair, quite a bit can be accomplished. Quite a bit can be accomplished. I just feel like the difference is the level of caliber. Is that I'm learning with the likes of Chris Healy's and other people, and who's the guy I fought in Daniel Marks. Those type. I'm learning against those type of levels where I am still learning, but also if I make a mistake, it's not necessarily crucial. It's not fight ending almost. Whereas in situations with someone as high caliber as Usyk, it's very risky because you're learning new things. You're doing something. You're making a certain move. You're throwing a certain punch. You're adjusting yourself in some way which you're not 1,000% confident in yet. You still have to test that 2 or 3 times to go, oh, fuck, that works. Let me do that. Let me do that. Whereas the only way to figure that out is trial and error. So if you do that and then it doesn't work, if I do that and it doesn't work against the Chris Healy, I'm going to be okay 9 times out of 10. If you do it against an Usyk or like you're going to find yourself in a sticky situation, he's going to pick up on that and pick you out 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to be more hesitant now of the other 10, 15 tricks that we've been working on through camp that may or may not work. It may put some serious doubt in your head if those first couple of little things that you've worked on with a new trainer aren't working, and you're going to then start second guessing the whole game plan. And then once your head goes, you're in trouble, unfortunately.
What about having that kind of new voice in the corner? I know there was a lot of criticism with AJ having too many voices previously, but just having Robert Garcia in the corner for the first time, could that be a difficulty, the unfamiliar?
Could be. If anything, I think sometimes the familiar is the problem. If you're too familiar with your team, your stable, your situation, the way things are done, you almost feel like you know what they're going to say. That's part of the reason why I even added Ben in, because I felt a level of familiarity between me and my coach that we were getting, not to go far and say complacent or comfortable, but we were just getting very familiar in what we were doing and how we were doing it. And I recognized that we needed an adjustment, and it's worked wonders for the both of us, not just from me from learning, but him from coaching as well. So I think a new voice in the corner makes you kind of sit up straight and pay more attention and go, actually, okay, hang on, I need to be doing this, as opposed to someone you've known for 5-10 years that's coached you and goes, do this, and you're like, yeah, of course, all right.
So before I ask you for a prediction, obviously I'm sure you knew that was coming. If this fight was, say, I don't know, 6 months further down the line, or AJ had another fight in the interim with the new team, would that change your opinion of how the fight will pan out?
Maybe depending on how he looked. It would, depending on how he looked and how he looked and how he did in the fight that was on the interim, and who it was against as well, the type of opponent. If it was just a big slugger, heavy, if you grabbed Gerald Miller, for example, and he clubbed him out in 4 or 5 rounds, I wouldn't give much credence to that, because that's not going to help you in the next fight. But it's difficult because there's no one really to compare to Usyk, but just someone more technical, someone smarter in on the higher level of a top heavyweight that makes you have to think a bit more, keeps a decent pace as well. And if he looks good against them, looks like he's made good adjustments, he looks comfortable, he's listening to his coach well, then yeah, it would adjust my opinion on the fight.
But as it stands, this Saturday they'll cross swords for the second time. Who do you fancy and why?
I still fancy Usyk. Again, I always want to back the whole team, so I want Joshua to win. I would prefer him to win. I really do want that to happen. But I do think it's too short a notice to implement, because the thing is, Joshua's already gone through. He started out kind of being that big Bruiser, strong heavyweight, just massive and just clumping everyone out, and then he swapped through to, I want to try and slim down a bit, be more of a technical boxer. And now he's on his kind of third phase So through all of those phases, you learn certain habits, which are still hard to get rid of, no matter how many times you've gone over something new. So being on your third kind of phase of fixing, or not fixing yourself to say anything's broken, but adjusting yourself can be difficult in such a short period of time. And like I say again and again, especially against such a high level of opponent, it's once those things may work or not work, or you might just resort back to default and then start just swinging for the fences.
Do you think Usyk can stop him this time around, or will it go to points again?
I don't think he'll stop him. I don't think. I think Josh. I think that's definitely something Joshua would have recognised. Is that I was not to say he was unfit, but he wasn't managing the pace of the fight well enough. And I think that's something you can implement not quickly, but over enough time that he's had. I think that's definitely something you can pay attention to and adjust. And Usyk's never been known for being the biggest puncher. He's known for wearing you down, putting a big combination on you, and then getting you through. And I think a Joshua is big enough, long enough, strong enough to sometimes avoid those last minute situations. But I think that, not to say necessarily fatigue, but just managing the rounds properly, managing himself properly is something he would have paid a lot of attention to.
Great stuff. Brilliant insight. Really, really appreciate it. Let's catch up again when there's a date in the diary for the Gorman fight. I think that'd be great. And yeah, hopefully soon.
Definitely. Sounds good, mate. No worries.
Cheers, mate. Take care. Speak to you soon.